Well, look, folks, Trump is the wrecking ball we were waiting for all of this time, and frankly, some of this we were hoping for in his first term, and now, of course, it's coming out full force in all of the best ways. Sam Mirejovsky here behind the What's Right microphone. Greetings, friends. Welcome to the program. Sam at whatsrightshow.com. That's the email. And of course, you can find me on X, formerly known as Twitter, at What's Right Sam. Look, Marco Rubio's speech in Munich was epic, but it wasn't just the fact that Marco Rubio delivered what I think is the best articulation of Trump's foreign policy that I have heard so far. Not only did Marco Rubio come across as the most significant Secretary of State since Kissinger, but it's the fact that every person that went there, every left-wing Democrat pretender that showed up at the Munich conference, from AOC to Gretchen Whitmer to the insufferable governor of California, they all looked like complete lightweights, mental midgets, dwarves playing in a giant's world. Now, I'll take you through the speech in a minute, but I want to emphasize one thing that has been on my mind all weekend as I am listening to these reactions. See, Marco Rubio's speech, if you take the time to listen to it, 20 minutes, it's not long. If you listen to it, what you hear in it is an articulation, a desire by the United States, by this administration, to work together with Europe, not at any cost, but to work with Europe in order to deliver a more stable world in a pursuit of protecting Western civilization. Now, the Hillary Clintons of the world, and Hillary Clinton was absolutely insufferable. Yes, she showed up to this conference. No, I don't think she's going to become president, but she just inserts herself in all the worst ways, smug as could be, an absolute wretch of a human being. But anyway, she shows up there along with, a handful of other notable characters that we are familiar with in our country. And they come there, and what they want is an America a la Obama. The vision that Obama had for us, for our country, which is an America that is weakened, an America that is chastened, an America that is restrained, that is one of many lovely global players on the world stage, and an America that is denuded in many ways, right, as a global power, so that we can atone for our past sins. And this ideology that has driven American foreign policy in many ways, right? Obviously, during the Obama era, prominent under the auspices of Joe Biden or whoever the hell was running the administration, right? This was the way we conducted ourselves. Apologize again, apologize a third time for all the horrible things that America did, real or imagined, and then proceed to crap the bed. I'm not going to say it in any more vulgar terms, but literally back down and do and project weakness. And by the way, what happened when we did this? Everybody here on the left is suddenly obsessed with Ukraine and Russia and putting Putin in a corner. It was the number one question everybody's asking right now. What do Putin or Ukraine? Isn't it interesting that Putin only runs amok when Obama and when Biden were in office? And that's the reality of this. America first, and this is so important. This is the takeaway. This is the key point. America first is actually good for the world. If you're in Europe and you've got half a brain, you understand that America resurgent, America under Donald Trump, is your best friend. Now, no, they're not going to be friends with the idiots that are running your Western European country and have presided over your demise. They're not going to be the friends of an ideology that has invited half of the third world to come invade their country and reduce their culture to utter garbage. No, Trump is not a friend of those people, but he's a friend of yours. Because Trump is a projection of American strength. Rubio, Vance, the entire hierarchy of what is derisively referred to often by the media as a MAGA cabal is the best hope for the West. And the more that the libs, that the Democrats spoke at this conference, I remember the Munich conference been going on since the 60s, has become and devolved into a sort of an obligatory event a la Davos for the globalist elites to meet and talk about things, terrible failed policies, by the way, pat each other's themselves on the back, and then move on and jet away. And all of a sudden, in comes Marco Rubio, a representative of the United States, a representative of American power. And on his, in the dust behind the contrails of Rubio landing there and making his splash are all of these little pretenders. And it's important we pay attention to it, because many of the people that spoke, many of the people that have gotten press time, many of the people whose ridiculous clips from AOC to Whitmer to Gavin Newsom, these are the people that want to become the next American president. And yet, standing on the stage, giving America's de facto position, preceding the speaker from China, was a man, Marco Rubio, who I believe may well, after this speech, be a contender for 2028. I had a number of people that I listened to, that I talked to, that I have spoken to over the weekend and leading up to this today have mentioned to me that they think that this could be a leapfrog deal. Now, right, we don't get ahead of ourselves, and we can kind of get into these particulars a little bit later. But it was that good, and this will be remembered. This is why I'm opening the program today. This may very well be remembered as a seminal moment in the if we talk about this as a Trump succession plan. Who follows Donaldus Maximus in 2028 and 2032? If you imagine it, 2032, seems so far away. But we need to talk about it, is my point. Now, Hillary. Well, Hillary. How do people? Are there actual Hillary Clinton stands out there? Does she have her following? Producer Robbie, you are familiar with, I believe, intimately, with our friends on the left, but maybe sometimes more and a better way than I am. Are they out there? Do they exist? Because Hillary, it was a great moment and one of a certain amount of pride for me when Hillary Clinton got swatted down by the Czech foreign minister. You see this? Now, of course, if you folks aren't aware, my parents originally from Czechoslovakia, which is now the Czech Republic, a country that I love deeply and is part of my background. And the Czech government has recently had a bit of a renewal, right? They had an election and they got a right-wing government after a period of time when the leftists, the globalists, the Democrats of the country had had their turn, wrecking, much as Biden did our country, theirs. And so now they've got this new government. They've got a new foreign minister, Pierre Masinek, and he did a great job destroying Hillary. I think let me give you this little back and forth and just notice how absolutely rude Hillary is. And she is so condescending. And everybody touted, my entire life, everybody's always touted Hillary Clinton's intellect. I guess that's the part of this that I find, if there is one that I find surprising, is just how low IQ her pitch is. Like, let me play this clip because it's really worth it. 1 second.
Peter, do you agree that the Trump administration's actions on Ukraine have produced a rift in the West?
Well, first, I think you really don't like him.
You know, that is absolutely true. But I really, not only do I not like him, I don't like him because of what he's doing to the United States and the world. And I think you should take a hard look at it if you think that there is something good that will come out of it.
Peter,
what I think Trump is doing in America, I think it is reaction for something for some policies that really went too far.
Okay, stop the tape right there. That's so good. It's a reaction. Of course it's a reaction. You and I know this. It's why we voted for him. But don't you love it? You're constantly being told, you are being lied to every time you turn on the mainstream media, for example. And actually you're being lied to by a lot of people who are so-called conservatives who claim that Trump is diminishing our standing on the world stage. That's not true. Trump is certainly alienating America from the globalists. But there is a significant rise in Europe among our allies of people who are just like this man, who represent voters who think like us, who believe in national sovereignty, and want to push back on the craziness that the world has become. And notice, now Hillary Clinton's going to start pushing back here, and this is where it gets good.
Too far from the regular people, too far from reality. So, you know, we saw the cancel culture. We saw the woke revolution. I don't agree with the gender revolution.
Wait for it now. We all understand the gender revolution. By the way, this is not his native language. He speaks great English, but Hillary Clinton, to my knowledge, only speaks English and is still a moron because she comes back at this with what? Oh, what do you mean gender? You mean like women's rights?
The climate alarmism.
Which gender? Women having their rights?
Let Peter go on.
I think
the moderator steps in here and tells Hillary to shut the fuck up. I love that. Anyway. Yeah, Foreign Minister of the Czech Republic. Continuing.
Go on.
I think there are two genders. So, but some of us think that there is more than one or more than two gender. I think there is male and female, and the rest probably is a social construct. So this is something that went too far.
But does that justify selling out the people of Ukraine who are on the front lines dying to save their freedom and their two genders? If that's what you're worried about?
Can I please finish my points? I'm sorry that it makes you nervous. I'm really sorry for that.
I love this. This is, by the way, she thinks she's talking to Bill. That's what she thinks she's going. Anyway, literally, Hillary Clinton putting this guy like he's Bill, shut up. I'm talking. Friends, I got to tell you this, and I mean this in all sincerity, right? It's when you look at the way that the American left, and it's true in other places as well. But you know, we're in America. We're going to worry about what we've got here. The level of condescension that they have for us and for any challenges to their dogma is unreal, and you have to understand that the reason that they're everything from the so-called anti-ICE demonstrations, right? The highly disruptive organized domestic terror that is being unleashed by NGOs and other supporters of the Democratic Party, to the conversations you will have simply with people you think are your friends and family members, where you express an opinion that maybe you like Donald Trump, and you're met with a barrage of insults, right? It's not a debate. It's not a conversation. It's not well, okay, I hear your opinion. I think you're dead wrong, or I even think you're an idiot, and this is why. No, you're met with a volcanic eruption because these are people incapable of actually having a conversation. And that's why I played this clip with Masinek and the foreign minister of the Czech Republic and Hillary. Now, this all happened in the vortex of, in the fallout from the magnificent speech given by Marco Rubio. And I want to take you through this here real fast because there's one moment here that was absolutely phenomenal. And he talks about our allies must be strong. Okay? Now, again, you're getting lied to by the mainstream media because they characterize and have continued to characterize Rubio's appearance in Munich as somehow a giant middle finger, screw you to his European allies and breaking, by the way, insufferable articles about this and news reports about how this the old world order is over. It's not the case at all. Globalists are on their back foot. And here's where Marco Rubio really nails it.
This is why we do not want our allies to be weak, because that makes us weaker. We want allies who can defend themselves so that no adversary will ever be tempted to test our collective strength. This is why we do not want our allies to be shackled by guilt and shame. We want allies who are proud of their culture and of their heritage, who understand that we are heirs to the same great and noble civilization, and who together with us are willing and able to defend it. For we in America have no interest in being polite and orderly caretakers of the West's managed decline. We do not seek to separate, but to revitalize an old friendship and renew the greatest civilization in human history. What we want is a reinvigorated alliance that recognizes that what has ailed our societies is not just a set of bad policies, but a malaise of hopelessness and complacency. We want an alliance that boldly races into the future, and the only fear we have is the fear of the shame of not leaving our nations prouder, stronger, and wealthier for our children. An alliance ready to defend our people, to safeguard our interests, and to preserve the freedom of action that allows us to shape our own destiny. Not one that exists to operate a global welfare state and atone for the purported sins of past generations. What we have inherited together is something that is unique and distinctive and irreplaceable, because this, after all, is the very foundation of the transatlantic bond.
Absolutely, perfectly put. Now, he's talking about allies. He's talking about Europe. He's talking about shared culture and shared objectives. But he's also talking about the distinct and individual national identities, and by extension, national sovereignties of our respective countries. Now, this is exactly right. Now, again, I bring you back to any person who comes out there and says that Trump is an isolationist is just lying to your face. It's a bald-faced lie, plain and simple. And by the way, if you watch the entire speech and then at the end, basically the conference chairman, his name is Wolfgang Ischinger, and he basically remarks, he says, I don't know if you heard the sigh of relief in this hall. Because you know what's the problem with all of these, even these, politically connected, many of them in office, elected officials in Europe, they're all boobs. They all consume the mainstream media in their respective countries, and let me tell you how these people operate. Okay, the people in mainstream European countries, literally, these are people who write for a German newspaper, and they go and they read the first 7 pages of the New York Times and think they understand what is going on in America. It is so surface level, it's so reductive, it is so idiotic. And it informs the politicians who, then are, oh my gosh, is everything we were told about Trump isn't true. Brains were breaking. So just letting you know, this is wild stuff. All right, quick break here. Cutting this up a little bit. Sam Mirejovsky here behind the What's Right microphone. Mirejovsky here for Sam and Ash Injury Law. Very simple, straightforward advice. You know I'm rarely wrong and always right. Don't handle your injury case on your own. You may be smart, you may know what you're doing, but they're going to get the runaround, and ultimately you'll end up thousands of dollars in the hole. Don't do it. Call Sam and Ash Injury Law today. It's my firm. I vouch for it. I'm here every day. 800-304-2000. 800-304-2000. Quick 20-minute phone call. No recovery, no fee, no money up front. Just upside for you at the end of the case. And you don't have to do anything. You can stay at home, be with your kids, go to work, gosh forbid, and not handle all those pesky phone calls. samandashlaw.com. 800-304-2000. Because you deserve what's right. Remember the Irish immigrant last week? The guy that was detained by ICE. He'd overstayed his visa. He literally was here on a tourist visa and stayed, I think, for 16 years. So he was in the country illegally. He gets detained by ICE, and he's been on a tear complaining that the El Paso facility that he's in is a modern-day concentration camp. Well, we've got some updates on him. Turns out, not such a great guy after all. Sam Mirejovsky here behind the What's Right microphone. Sam at what'srightshow.com is my email, at What's Right Sam on X, formerly known as Twitter. So, all right, folks, here's the scoop. It's just like Kilmar Abrego Garcia. It's the same thing, right? He's a Maryland man. He's just a guy. He's working. He's doing everything right, you know, got a family, a nice wife. He's got some kiddos. He's in a union. And the more we peeled back the layers of the onion, we discovered that Kilmar Abrego Garcia, a.k.a. the Maryland man, was not the upstanding citizen everybody wanted us to believe. Well, a Daily Mail ran a piece on this guy. Seamus Colton was his name. Apparently, look, his daughters have come up and said that he's a deadbeat dad. Yeah, he just abandoned his family. So he went to the U.S. on a vacation, stayed, and left his kids. He left his kids behind. Okay, this isn't like being a human trafficker, which is what is alleged of Kilmar Abrego Garcia, but it's certainly not a good look. Oh, and also he's facing some drug charges back home, apparently, that are now more than 16 years old. Anyway, just thought I would update you on this because, you know, this is what they love to do. They love to create heroes out of these they are victims out of these, but people have run afoul of federal law, right? Trump is enforcing federal law. And incidentally, on the note of immigration, there was another interesting development because, of course, yes, Hillary Clinton, while she was at Munich, I forgot to mention this. Thank you, Robbie, for the reminder. Hillary Clinton, while she was at Munich, basically blurts out saying that Obama, and then Clinton deported more people, talking about her husband's administration and, of course, the administration she was part of as Secretary of State once upon a time. Remember that? Hillary Clinton, Secretary of State. Boy, is Marco Rubio an upgrade. But I digress. So anyway, she brings this up. They deported more people, and, you didn't see people dying. You didn't see people getting shot. You didn't see any of this happen. So, of course, the internet did what the internet does and found that Obama had 114 detention deaths versus Trump's so far 22. Now, I don't know if you agree with me on this. I think every human life is precious, and I don't think that anybody should die in detention. And, 100%. Now, things happen, right? People kill themselves. People are coming into the system high on drugs. And, there's different things that occur, right? So you could get into each of the individual circumstances, but the numbers, right? If Hillary Clinton's just talking about numbers, she ended up with egg on her face, is my point. So it's like this with all these narratives that the left puts out there consistently over and over again get cut down, right? That reality comes into play and begins to, fine tune the picture a bit. Now, they're all lightweights. I mentioned this before. They are complete and total lightweights. You see the moment, Gretchen Whitmer. Now, who's Gretchen? Gretchen Whitmer, of course, Democrat governor of Michigan. She is she's on the short list of 20 names, maybe 15 even, of folks on the Democrat side who are going to be throwing their names into the hat in 2028 for the Democrat nomination. Gretchen Whitmer also, of course, was had that a weird plot where, some people got basically entrapped, I think, a little bit of, the FBI came and found some guys, some oath keepers or whatever they were out in Michigan. They're like, we're going to kidnap the governor in the height of COVID. And these idiot guys were like, yeah, okay, well, we're not really down with that, but let's do it anyway. And then they got put on trial. And it was entrapment. I'm telling you as a lawyer, it was textbook entrapment. And the prosecutions didn't go off exactly without a hitch, but long and the short of it, it was concocted by the Biden DOJ simply in an effort to show that we had these radical domestic right-wing terrorists, an extension of the J6 hysteria. And anyway, Gretchen Whitmer, I'm just giving you a little bit of update. This woman, I personally think she had a hand in all this nonsense, and she's insufferable. And she's dumb. Now, every Democrat is obsessed with the idea that Trump is turning his back on Ukraine. Trump hates Ukraine. Trump loves Putin. Trump is basically, and was, all going back to 2015, Putin's puppet, selected by Putin. Putin, after all, interfered with the 2016 election. We all know this. Gospel truth if you're a Democrat. Anyway, if you're a Democrat running for office now for a second time, because I think Whitmer, in 2020 had thrown her hat in the ring as well. I'm just pointing all this out. She should be able to answer questions about Ukraine. Okay? Like for certain. No two ways about it. And on top of it, she gets invited to the Munich Security Conference. Security Conference to talk about, what's the topic? Foreign policy? Oh boy. She was left stuttering on a simple question about Ukraine, turning to no one other than Trump's NATO ambassador for help. An embarrassing mess on display.
On Ukraine, what does victory look like? Ambassador?
No, please. I'd love to hear your answer.
It is. The two that I am on the panel with are much more steeped in foreign policy than a governor is. But I do think that Ukraine's independence, keeping their land mass, and having the support of all the allies, I think is the goal from my vantage point. Go ahead, Ambassador. Do a better job.
Literally hands it off to Trump's ambassador, right? Why sit on this panel to begin with if you don't know what the hell you're talking about? I mean, what a chutzpah this is, right? Robbie, did you like my chutzpah? I felt it needed a guttural chutzpah. Like this is just the balls on this woman, but not in a good way, right? Not in a tough as nails. As in the past, people would say, Condoleezza Rice. Now that's a woman with balls, and they would say it in a nice way. She just went head first into the abyss. Well, okay. AOC didn't do much better. What's AOC doing at this global conference on foreign policy and international security. You ask, Congresswoman from New York. Well, this nut job is there because of course he wants to be president. And by the way, if we don't get the SAVE Act passed, her and Bernie are gonna run. Who knows? I mean, number one, number two, number one, however it goes. I mean, these good people are going to be in charge of the free world. Listen to this answer on Taiwan.
Would and should the U.S. actually commit U.S. troops to defend Taiwan if China were to move?
I think that this is such a, I think that this is this is, of course, a very long-standing policy of the United States. And I think what we are hoping for is that we want to make sure that we never get to that point. And we want to make sure that we are moving in all of our economic research and our global positions to avoid any such confrontation and for that question to even arise.
Did Kamala Harris script that answer? I want to know. I got to know. This is a new kind of word salad. If you didn't understand what she said, don't worry. It's not you. It's her. Okay? I'm just letting you know. This is a mess. Right? I mean, if you... by the way, and the contrast, right? The contrast to Marco Rubio speaking clearly and decisively and framing exactly what the issues are. And he plainly puts this, right? Makes it absolutely clear. The issue is with Europe is that mistakes were made and you've got to fix it. And sovereignty of individual countries is key. Here's Marco Rubio. Here's exactly the point in his speech about midway where he kind of, what did he say? Kind of hits the bullseye. All right. He hits the bullseye. And it was fantastic. It was a breathtaking moment.
We increasingly outsourced our sovereignty to international institutions while many nations invested in massive welfare states at the cost of maintaining the ability to defend themselves. This, even as other countries have invested in the most rapid military buildup in all of human history and have not hesitated to use hard power to pursue their own interests. To appease a climate cult, we have imposed energy policies on ourselves that are impoverishing our people, even as our competitors exploit oil and coal and natural gas and anything else, not just to power their economies, but to use as leverage against our own. And in a pursuit of a world without borders, we opened our doors to an unprecedented wave of mass migration that threatens the cohesion of our societies, the continuity of our culture, and the future of our people. We made these mistakes together. And now, together, we owe it to our people to face those facts and to move forward, to rebuild.
Yeah, exactly. And by the way, why is this so perfect? It's perfect because this is everything Trump ran on in 16, in 20, and in 24. Right? What have we done? America First is back to national sovereignty. What is national sovereignty? It actually has two parts. Number one, we believe in a border. And at one point in the speech, he got very explicit about borders. A nation can't exist without a closed, secure border. You have to know who's coming into the country. And you have to have the right to exclude. Otherwise, you don't have a country. And don't you agree with that fundamentally? Now, the other part of this is you have to be able to pursue your nation's national interests and not sell your country out for, and you could fill in the blank for anything, whether it's environmentalism, global warming, the entire climate hoax. Oh, we're going to shut down nuclear power plants because of problems. We're going to shut down coal. We're going to shut down fracking, natural gas. And all of a sudden, the future, if you consider that the future is artificial intelligence, which requires massive amounts of electrical power to operate and to run. Your country literally cannot advance if you don't have a means of developing that power. And if you listen to the Obamas and the Bidens and every other one of these drooling, driveling Democrats, they would want an America that saws itself off at the knees, beginning with energy policy and all the way up until and through an open border where every criminal POS human being comes into this country, brings their warlord culture into America, erodes our country, just so that on the steaming pile of dung dew that is left behind, the Democrats can build their power structure. If that doesn't absolutely get your goat, I don't know what to tell you. And you know it's true. And you know that they've been fast at work on this for many years now. And that they accelerated it as a reaction the minute that they got their hands on the levers of power with Joe Biden, the minute that they walked into the White House in January of 2021. They said, in these 4 years, we got the drooling guy over there. He's eating his ice cream cone. He's going to he's going to let us do whatever we do. We're going to get the auto pen out, the little signature, done. And we're going to run this thing so that we never lose power again. And what they didn't count on, what they absolutely underestimated is the American people. And I'll tell you this, the more I look at this, the more I view this, we are the saviors of the world. And we've been told, my entire time growing up, the greatest generation, right? My grandparents' generation that served in World War II, that fought and died for the liberation of Europe. And you know what? Maybe you and I are not as brave and as daring and as selfless as that great and mighty generation of warriors was that packed off at 16, 17, 18 years, 19 years old, went across the Atlantic and went to Europe and fought on foreign soil to rid the world of Hitler. But we got Trump elected. And if you take a through line back from the future and you look for a point in time where the world was saved, it's 2024, November. That election, an absolute moment, right? An absolute moment. Now, I'm here to tell you, it's so unbelievably amazing, and I'm telling you, the Europeans are coming around. The West is not lost yet. But gosh forbid, 2028, if we, can you imagine AOC? By the way, Marco Rubio had this great point. Because again, in Europe, they're calling Trump a xenophobe, a hater, a racist, a bigot, all this stuff. And Marco Rubio had this great moment where he said, look, I was my parents, my forebears 250 years ago, and obviously this man has done his genealogy, mentioned some of his, relatives, long past relatives, and said they never could have imagined that he would be their heir, be someday standing on the world stage back in the old country, on the European continent as the representative of the United States of America. And he's, talking about cowboys and all. It was a great speech. It was an absolute phenomenal speech. And AOC, this is the criticism, right? This is what the left is reduced to.
You are starting to see the ascent of the right, even in places like Munich. Marco Rubio's speech was a pure appeal to Western culture. My favorite part was when he said that American cowboys came from Spain
I thought they came from Winnetou, but
I believe the Mexicans and descendants of African enslaved peoples would like to have a word on that. They want to take this mantle of culture. At the end of the day, though, it is very thin. And so the response that we have to have is, again, it's material, it's class-based, it's common interest. A lot of what we talk about when we talk about a class-based internationalist perspective also means ending the hypocrisy towards the global South.
Okay. What an absolute unadulterated idiot. Spain literally brought horses, cattle, and herding to the U.S. You know, that's it. Spanish colonialists brought that so that, people in Mexico do it now. It's because of the Spaniards. By the way, class-based international perspective is just a lot of words for Marxism, which is what obviously AOC would bring us were she ever elected president of the United States of America, something I hope I never live to see. So what's the takeaway here? Where are we at with all of this? It's very straightforward. We're on the right path. Everything is good. Everything is looking fantastic. We're doing it. We're on it. It's happening. And I'm just letting you know that this is every bit the disruptor that we wanted Trump to be from the very beginning. And he's finally freed and doing it with the right people in tow. It's absolutely phenomenal. Sam Mirejovsky here on the What's Right Media Network. I will see you folks again tomorrow. Keep the faith. Sam@what'srightshow.com is my email. @what'srightsam on X. You can find me and follow me. See you tomorrow.